You are listening to the Next Play podcast, the playbook for high-performing leaders who want to exceed their full potential. From walking on the Ole Miss football team at 5'7", 150 pounds and earning a full D1 scholarship, to coaching thousands around the world and working with massive organizations like IBM. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me as I interview some of the most successful people so you too can learn how to focus on always moving forward by deciding, planning, and executing on the next play relentlessly. What's going on, and welcome to the Next Play podcast. This is your host, Richie Contartesi, also known as Relentless Richie, coming to you live from beautiful and sunny Las Vegas, Nevada, with a really powerful topic today. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for wanting to improve yourself, right? So how to compete against yourself and always win, right? We're here all about talking about not just meeting, but exceeding your full potential. And so today is a really important topic because competitiveness is a skill. Competition can be really looked at as something negative. And so there's a reason for that, but it also is looked at as something that's very positive, and there's a reason for that. And so today we're going to be talking about the sweet spot. So how to compete against yourself and always win, right? And we're going to talk about competitiveness is a skill, the good and the bad, where the sweet spot is, how to measure yourself as a winner and define success, and how to compete so you always get better. Yeah, how to compete so you always are getting better. You're always improving. So here's what's really important right off the bat, and that's that competitiveness, is a skill. Competitiveness is a skill. Being able to compete with others and yourself, without destroying yourself. Okay, so what do I mean by destroying yourself, right? So this is, you can create dissatisfaction and frustration and anxiety and stress and, just being down on yourself, right? It can be very destructive, but competitiveness can also be one of the most powerful motivators, even though the way that you've probably used it in the past is extrinsic motivation versus intrinsic motivation. So we're going to break that down. I want you to be really powerful with being competitive and competitiveness. So number one, is it good to be competitive? Is it good? And the answer is very simply, it depends. It depends. Yes and no. And studies go back and forth on this. And I actually spent some time reading through some of the extracts and conclusions, some of the most popular studies around competitiveness, and they're all kind of opinion-based, persuasive. And I think after analyzing, there's a sweet spot, and that's what I'm going to share with you today as someone who's very competitive, and I've sabotaged my success in ways, and have lived under frustration sometimes, and even sometimes depression from being too competitive or focusing my competitiveness on the wrong things, right? And so competitive people, here's what's crazy. Competitive people are more likely to be ambitious and confident, and competitive people don't give up and are willing to do anything to fulfill their deepest desires. So there's some benefits there. And a lot of the times we look at competitive people, and sometimes we wish that we had that competitiveness, because a lot of times they eventually do reach success. They just do, right? And in one way or another, and that's because they just don't stop, right? Now it also has its disadvantages, like big disadvantages, and a lot of times they live in constant stress. They become perfectionists. This is something that I battled with in the past, which is very which will paralyze you. Right? It can destroy you. Depression is a big thing, especially if you lose and you are a very competitive person. You can turn on family and friends. So there's a lot of things that could be very negative. So one of the biggest things, and this is what they call it if you look at some of the research, is hyper competitive. And it is very possible to be hyper competitive Researchers define as having a neurotic need to win at all costs, right? And at Relentless University, we talk about going after you want at all costs with ethics and integrity, which is really important. But there's a sweet spot for this, right? People who constantly compare themselves to others may develop chronic feelings of inadequacy. And this is really, really bad, right? Since there's no way you can be good at everything. Competitive individuals always have someone to lose against, right? Like, you're never going to be the best at everything. Someone's always going to be better than you. And if you just happen to be at the top of the world, it's not going to be forever, right? So the constant quest to be the best can lead to perfectionism, depression, stress, and other huge issues. So, it's very, very important to strive to be the best, but is it to be the best or to be your best? And there's a big difference between that, and I think it's really important that we clarify that, especially coming from the founder of Relentless University, where everything is about going after what you want at all costs, ethics and integrity. But there's also a mental side to this, a mental health side to this. And it's something that's really important. And as you know, I share on our podcast what we're doing with our clients, what we're seeing is working, what's not working, and how we're improving it to constantly improve the lives of our clients. So let's break down the actual sweet spot. Let's break down the sweet spot. The issue is it's not competing, because competitiveness is an amazing tool. It's that you're competing with the wrong person. There'll always be somebody better. There always will be somebody better. Even Usain Bolt knows that there's somebody better, somebody past him. It just happens. And just because you won doesn't necessarily mean you're actually better. Maybe at that moment, but then what? Right? You get really good at your comparing yourself to others. And this is one thing you see really, really big with social media and the world that we're so connected to today. The only way to truly win is to compete against yourself. And I will tell you that as somebody who's, like I said, extremely competitive, and the things that happened at Ole Miss and even in business, I spent a lot of time comparing myself in the locker room with all these other guys, and it was a huge mistake. It was a huge mistake, because I was never going to be those guys. I was never going to look like those guys. I just wasn't. And sometimes in business, we do the same thing. Sometimes in our health and our fitness and our job, we do the same things. We're comparing ourselves to things we can never be. And it doesn't mean that that's not success. It doesn't mean that you're not a winner. It just means that you're competing against something that will never happen. And it's going to lead to frustration and stress and anxiety and depression. We want to avoid that. We want to wake up every day excited. We want to wake up every day as a winner. And you can do that starting today. And that's what's so powerful about this. You can wake up today as a winner. That's truly, truly powerful, right? It's truly powerful. So let's talk about being a winner right now. Being a winner is not about crossing the finish line first. It's about the relentless pursuit to be number one. Let me repeat that. Being a winner is not about crossing the finish line first. It's about the relentless pursuit to cross that finish line. That's what being a winner is. Because you will never always be a winner. But you can always control the relentless pursuit to be a winner. And this is something that came from Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a big component of this. And he said, look, you're never going to win every game. You're never going to be amazing. But what makes Tom Brady different is he doesn't compare himself to other quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson and these guys who are way more talented than him. But what he does better than anybody else is the relentless pursuit to constantly be number one. Nobody can touch him in that area. And that's why he does what he does. Being a winner is laying it all out on the line and doing your absolute best. That's being a winner. So you no longer only focus on beating others, but actually just improving yourself. And if you're improving, that's winning. Now, you can use your winning and competing against others to see where you're at, of course, against others. Look, this isn't about like destroying competition against others. You should compete. but internally, being a winner, right? Success, how you define success is competing against you. It's no longer winning the game, right? Defining success, it's no longer winning the game or crossing the finish line. These are outcomes you will achieve as a result. But success is defined as mastering new skills, becoming better at your craft, leveling up, doing things that you couldn't do before, becoming a person that you weren't before, acquiring skills, patience. This is a skill that I'm really working on right now. We're literally hiring someone right now that's extremely patient to help with that. That's how we define success. And ultimately, this gives you full control. Like, you want full control of your life, right? You hear people talk about responsibility and accountability all the time, but the purpose of responsibility is that you take control. If you know people like this, or if you're the type of person that says it's his fault or her fault, or I don't have enough money, or I don't have the right body type, or I don't have this, or I don't, then you're never going to take action to improve, to get better, because it's someone else's fault, because it's a circumstance fault, because it's the government's fault, right? But now, when you compete against yourself, you'll take full responsibility. You'll lose, but you won't blame others for your failure. You'll always take responsibility. You'll remove the handcuffs. You won't focus on past failures, and it won't be a reason to be depressed or angry. You just lost. You're not a failure. You just failed. It's just a reason to learn on your mistakes and the relentless pursuit that you'll do better next time. There is no final destination. This is what Tom Brady said. There is no final destination. There's only the relentless pursuit of perfection. And that's how you'll always be a winner, because you are a winner. That's how you'll always be successful, because you are successful. You are. So how do you compete against yourself? How do you compete against yourself? And ultimately, how do you compete against others? Number one, you start by focusing on your next play to get better, or for your team to get better, right? Like, we can't get paralyzed by long, huge, big goals, although we should have them. We can't get paralyzed by them, right? Because we're focused on the step number 653. Let's get focused on your next play. What's your next play right now? Like, could you imagine if it was the first quarter of the first game of the season and you ran out onto the field to play the game, and all you could think about was, oh my God, what's going to happen when I have to play in the cold weather, in the snow, in January, in a playoff game against Patrick Mahomes? Tom Brady would go out and not play well because you're focused way in worrying about the future. All you need to focus on right now when it comes to competing against yourself is just your next play. What can you do right now to get better? You can't control what others do or the past. You're not a failure. You just failed in the past. You got to get over it. You got to move on. I've told multiple stories of experiences where things were really embarrassing. Three stages in particular that I've spoken on in front of thousands of people. And I look back and I'm like, it makes me kind of cringe, but it's in the past. It's over. It's gone. I learned from it. I got way better because of it. You can't control what others do or the past, but what you can control is your next play. So that's number one, is to focus on your next play. Number two is to refuse temptation. You'll want to compare yourself to others, I'm telling you, especially if you're on social media. If you're on social media, you will want to compare yourself to others. But you got to refuse it. You've got to refuse it. Because the question is, are you better today? Is your business better today? Is your body better today? Well, no, I went out on the weekend and I didn't my body was like, I ate too much and I gained weight, so my body's not better. Okay. That's called a failure. Doesn't mean you are a failure. It means you failed. Okay? That's fine. You learn from it. Why did it happen? And what's your next play? What are you going to do? How are you going to do? When are you going to do it? Go. And let's move on. Let's get past it. What a lot of people do when they get in that state is they start comparing themselves. They're like, oh man, look at this fitness person and this business that's way better than mine. And then they quit. And then you may quit. You have to refuse. An easy way to refuse temptation is to surround yourself with people who are supportive of you, who are willing to hold you accountable in the right way, who you trust, who want you to be better, who are pushing you to be better, but also pushing you to be excited, to be happy, to be joyful. So number 2, you have to refuse temptation. And number 3, you have to reward yourself. And I've said this many times. I am I never have done a good job of rewarding myself in the past. However, it is so important. So important. And I've been doing a better job of this as of late because I've seen what this is doing for our clients and myself. And it's been really powerful. And that's just, look, you don't reward yourself. Like, for example, the 3.5 years I was at Ole Miss trying to earn a Division I football scholarship at 5'7", 150 pounds, if I would have just rewarded myself when I got to the end result, which was earning the scholarship, that would have been a miserable 3.5 years. Here's the thing. I did that a lot of the time. However, I had right people in my life that helped me reward myself along the way, or I probably would have never gotten there. And this is a lot of times why challenges don't work. Like a lot of people do, short-term challenges. We do short-term challenges with an extension on the end. Like the challenge is really to see if there's a good fit. We know we're going to get results, but if all you do is the challenge, then what's the point? Because if you look at the data, if you look at science, people who do challenges will go whoosh, get results and drop really fast down. And so that's why we incentivize our challenges with an end extension to keep that going, right? And it's got to be a good fit for them, and it got to be a good fit for us. And this is why challenges work. This is why they do. People just do it wrong and they stop, right? And they stop. So I just want to be clear, right? We compete every day. I want you to compete every single day. The question is, who are you going to compete with? Are you constantly going to be comparing yourself to other people, or are you going to compete with yourself? I want to be clear. I'm not saying not to compete against others. This is natural for us as human beings. What I'm saying is don't let that define your success. So if you're competing against somebody and you don't win, that doesn't mean you're not successful. It doesn't mean you're not successful. That's just a marker of where you're at right now against other people. Success is not defined by that. We talked about that. Let me go back. Success is not defined by that. Success, it's not about winning the game. It's not about crossing the finish line first. You'll get these outcomes, but success is defined at mastering a new skill and becoming better. Yeah, you may lose to the person, but were you better than before? And this is why it's great to compete against people that are way better, because they might beat you by 3 minutes, and then they might beat you by 2.5 minutes, then by 2 minutes. You're getting better. It's a good way for you to evaluate where you are against the competition. Don't let that define your success, however. Just use it as a marker. So I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to challenge yourself. I want you to compete every day. This isn't I don't have to be competitive. No, you need to be competitive. That's why even the challenges we don't run them with people against each other. We have people compete against themselves. Stop comparing yourself to others and just focus on your next play. That's it. What's your next play this week? You failed in the past. Things didn't go out. You want to get a certain body. You want to have a certain income. You want to have whatever it is that you're going after. You want to start a business. You want to write a book. You want to do this. You want to do that. What's your next play? Are you better this drive compared to last drive. Richie, what's a drive? A drive is when you get on the field and you try to get first downs to get a touchdown. Maybe last drive you got 1 first down and then you went 3 plays and out. This one, try to get 2 first downs. And all you have to do is focus on your next play. This is something we talk about a lot, right? Everyone thinks you have to throw big touchdowns, big, huge touchdowns. No. What people don't realize is that if you gain 3 yards every single play, you win every single game. So just get 3 yards. Focus on your next play. Be competitive, but compete against yourself. Compete against yourself. And always, like always, take relentless action. This is your week. You're going to have an amazing week. You're going to compete every single day, but you're going to compete every single day against yourself. You're going to compete every single day against yourself because you deserve it. You deserve to have the things that you want to have. And you can have all of them and define success and winning and be successful and be a winner every single day, not compared to other people, but compared to yourself. Are you a little bit better than yesterday? Boom, you won. Are you 3 yards further today than where you were yesterday? Yes, you're a winner. You are successful. So let's go. Take relentless action. Don't need to be paralyzed by big, huge visions of the future, even though you have them. No need to worry about the future or worry or fear success in the future or failure in the future or what people think about you or the unknown or dread the past and your failures in the past, but to stay in the present moment by focusing on the next play. You have everything you need to have right now. You have everything. If you're thinking about all the things you don't have, you're sabotaging. So let's go. Get up. Have an amazing week this week. Take relentless action, and I challenge you to challenge yourself. Compete every single day, but compete against yourself. Compete against yourself. Go out and have yourself an amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Next Play Podcast. If you liked the show, make sure to leave us a review. For more resources, visit relentlessuniversity.com or download the free Relentless University app. And if you're interested in having me speak at your next event, visit relentlessrichie.com. Until next time.